We're heading back into Hawkins with Stranger Things Tales from 85, so let's break down this trailer. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another Stranger Things video. Today, we have an official trailer for Tales from 85, the upcoming animated spin-off series. And since we got new footage, a whole new trailer, I'm breaking it down as I always do. Go ahead and hit that like button, comment down below your thoughts on this trailer, how you're feeling about this show, and more. And of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 200,000 subscribers here on the channel. I mean, quite a bit. And if you like this Stranger Things content and other stuff I do on the channel, Patreon is the place to be for extra content. Any support over there truly does mean the world. But without further ado, I say we just dive in. So as I always preface when I talk about Tales from 85, I want to let you know, if you didn't by now, this is an animated spin-off series set between the events of Season 2 and Season 3. It takes place in the early winter of 1985, and a major snowstorm is coming to Hawkins. That's kind of the basic setup for this show. And of course, it's animated, it's not live action, and every voice actor is different, so none of the original cast from the 5-season live action show is returning for this animated spin-off. When it comes to the trailer, let's just go frame by frame like I did with all the trailers for Season 5 and those Ross Duffer photo dumps. If you've been here since the Ross Duffer photo dumps, you're a real one. So the trailer opens with the party riding bikes in a snowy Hawkins, as we see Lucas, Max, Will, and then Mike and 11 actually sharing a bike. A Mike Wheeler voiceover then begins as he says, "Things are finally back to normal, and we'll finally get to show Elle some of our other hangout spots. Elle, you're gonna love it." So it's very clear that Mike's excited to be hanging out with 11, and if you put the shots from this trailer together with the ones we have from the teaser, this is probably not long after they just went by Hopper's cabin and picked up 11 to hang out with her. Now, what we get in response from Lucas is actually pretty funny, as him and Max are riding their bikes behind her, and we get a classic Lucas moment where he says, "All he talks about is Elle this, Elle that. Okay, we get it." Max then kind of disses him, saying, "You should be taking notes, Romeo." And I like that we got to see this Lou-Max dynamic early on in the trailer, letting us know, hey, the core character dynamics, those relationships are really going to be the foundation of this show. Yeah, we might get into some craziness later on that we'll talk about in this trailer, and we'll question whether or not it's fully canon or if it's a campaign. We'll get into all that, trust me. But it seems like no matter what, we are going to have those smaller character moments of, Lou-Max playfully sassing one another, or Mike and 11 just being excited to be spending time together, developing those relationships between Season 2 and 3, which is crucial in my opinion. Especially with 11, because we see them all lovey-dovey at the opening of Season 3, and so this season could maybe fill in some gaps and show their relationship growing off-screen, as we kind of just had to infer between Season 2 and 3 prior to this. If I had to guess, this bike riding scene is early on in the first episode of the season, by the way. It's also noticeable to me that Max's jacket is intentionally designed after her Season 4 outfit, because the colors are there. They look very similar. And with the voice actors being different, it's noticeable for sure out the gate when these characters start to speak, and it's kind of jarring, but at the same time, I think they can make it work. The biggest comparison I can think of is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. That, of course, was set between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but we saw characters like Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme, and many more that we'd seen in live action first, but we saw them in animation, and the different voice actors were able to still retain some of the main key traits of those characters, while also putting their own unique spin on it and making the character their own in a sense as well, while never losing the identity of those characters. And so I think that's probably what's going to happen here with Tales from 85. But as the kids continue riding their bikes through wintry Hawkins, we see someone clearing the streets of all this snow, and they're yelling, "Get out of the road!" It's just reminding me of someone saying, "Yeah, get off my lawn, you pesky kids." A banger of a needle drop then hits as it's "I Ran So Far Away" by A Flock of Seagulls. I adore the use of this song in La La Land. Shout out that movie. But this is just one 80s song that's always, been stuck in my head from time to time over the years, and it shows, hey, with the trailer songs for both the teaser and the official trailer, Tales from 85 is showing promise with the soundtrack, something that was kind of lacking in Season 5. We didn't have those signature 80s needle drops all throughout the season. They were kind of back heavy, mostly in the finale. Seems like we're going to be able to space those out a lot more here in Tales from 85 Season 1. Then we get a shot of the kids walking in the snow, and a Dustin voiceover begins. He says, "I hadn't realized that I had to go back to being some ordinary kid. I guess I'd like the idea of another adventure, And as we see Dustin talking, he's actually talking to Steve and Dustin on top. To me, this is the best duo in all of Stranger Things, and it seems like, again, we're going to get more of them in this gap between Season 2 and Season 3, which I'm all game for. Now, the question I ask is, does Dustin's quote here lead us to believe this adventure he's seeking could be a campaign the kids are starting up to kind of fill the void in between seasons with the winter storm coming in? Are they gearing up for a big campaign to recapture a sense of adventure in their lives? Could very well be the case, or could not be. We'll talk about it. But like I said, Dustin's clearly trying to come back to reality reality, living in a normal Hawkins, and regardless, he won't have to wait long because the events of Season 3 are a few months away. So if you can make it through winter and spring, you got one hell of an adventure involving Starcourt and the Russians right around the corner, Dusty Bun. And I couldn't tell exactly where they were in this moment. The background low-key kind of looked like the inside of the WSQK radio station from Season 5, but I highly doubt that. We then see the kids having a snowball fight, and it's just fun to see the kids being kids. That's something that I want Tales from 85 to tackle is, hey, these kids at the end of the day are just having fun in the 80s, living life, no worries. Give us that dynamic, that sort of coming-of-age, feel-good nature to it all, and I'll be set for the most part, I think. We then see a new character, Nikki Baxter. She's walking, listening to some music, but a monster starts to chase after her, and it appears to have the qualities of the vine dog that we've actually seen in some of the toys that have released. But when the mouth opens, that design is slightly different, so this could be another creature, or perhaps a less developed version of the vine dog, as all these creatures could mutate and evolve throughout the season for all we know. However, 11 pulls up and takes care of business, throwing this creature around like it's nothing, and the way her and the rest of the party appear so quickly with Nikki just standing behind them, it kind of has me wondering if this is all part of a campaign, and maybe, just maybe, Nikki is a made-up character who exclusively exists within their Dungeons & Dragons campaign and isn't actually a real person in Hawkins. She's obviously a character who's never brought up in the live-action seasons, because why would she? The idea for Tales from 85 came after the fact, but if you are making a prequel or some sort of fill-in-the-gap season, you kind of have to work with what you've been given based on the original source material. And so if Nikki Baxter plays a huge role in this season, she could just move out from Hawkins and that's the end of the story. But if she gets in the know on the Upside Down and everything, we'll just talk about momentarily, that changes it up a little bit. But this is where things get really interesting in the trailer. We see a shot of Hawkins' lab. The kids are even entering the lab, and then we see them looking on at where the gate was closed, as of course we know the gate was closed at the end of Season 2. But this begs the question, how can these monsters be roaming free in Hawkins if the gate is closed? It's a question I've asked for a while now since we got the teaser and since we started to get some images, and this show even addresses it in the trailer finally. 11 says the gate is closed. Where did it come from? Well, you and I are on the same page, El. Dustin chimes in saying something from the Upside Down must have survived last year. So this is kind of hinting at the fact that somehow something from the Upside Down is still out there post Season 2. And the theory I've had in the past is that somehow the corpses or the remains of entities from the Upside Down, for example, the Demo Dogs or the rotting pumpkin patch, are brought to life as monsters by man. Maybe it's the byproduct of some chemical experiment gone wrong or who knows what, but they're not actually connected to the Upside Down. They're more like zombified versions of monsters. They're like lab experiments that got out. That's one way for them to get around the lore of the Upside Down, as they're acknowledging, hey, these creatures are not connected to the Upside Down. The gate is closed. These are man-made monsters. Even if that's the case, though, right, and they disregard the campaign theory and they go full on, hey, these monsters are real, they're just not connected to the Upside Down, that does cause some concern and issues, because that is a huge deal in Hawkins. So we're supposed to watch Season 3 and believe, oh, in the off season between 2 and 3, they fought a ton of monsters all throughout Hawkins, by the way. If that's the case, I'm kind of viewing Tales from 85 more something inspired by Stranger Things, right? It features the characters we know and love, but it's not strictly canon, if that makes sense. We then get that same shot of the party seeing a vine creature from past footage and Dustin laying out a plan, as he tends to do to the rest of our characters, and we even see them taking pictures of a vine monster on the loose, probably for evidence. And this next part of the trailer is kind of where I struggle with the idea of Nikki being a real character, in a sense. Let me explain. It appears the party might have explained to Nikki what the Upside Down is, and she's now seen 11 use her powers, so I just can't buy that she possesses all of this information and then goes off into the world and keeps her lips sealed. And I also don't buy that our characters would just fill in Nikki so quickly, which is why I think she's not really a real character. She could just be someone made up for their D&D campaign. We then see Elle in another shot fighting a monster in the sawmill. This is an unexplored location in Hawkins, and this creature we've seen in past footage at this same location. I believe it was the end of the teaser trailer when we saw that for the first time. And again, this thing is a pretty large mutated creature that if it were real and roaming in Hawkins, we would have heard about it in Season 3. Nikki is then seen talking to the kids, and she says, very, very cool. It was kind of a weird exchange, and her vibe just seems like the kids don't really click with her necessarily. Like, she's just there out of the blue. That's kind of why I'm thinking there's a world where she's only a character in their D&D campaign and that everything we see with her is fake or just part of their imagination. Only time will tell if my campaign theory is right or not, but we actually know the first few episode titles for the season now, and they allude to a campaign taking place, as the first episode is called Campaigning the Winter, which would make sense if the entire season is a campaign. As we know, based on the teaser and the plot of the show, there's a huge winter storm coming, and the kids are setting up an awesome new campaign. That's their words, so it seems like the whole season could very well be a campaign, and this trailer was just edited in a way to throw us all off. After rewatching it a few times, that's kind of the vibe I'm picking up on. They full sent on the trickery just like it's a Marvel trailer or something. The next shot shows a newspaper article titled "Sewer Serpent Strikes Again," and it reads, "Giant super snake spotted living in sewers below Hawkins?" Vines are growing up all around everywhere, and to me, the creative choice to have the monsters in this show all have like this glowing green look to them kind of leads me to believe that this is creating a clear visual difference between the real monsters from the Upside Down in the live action show and these fake monsters that are all made up for the campaign the kids are taking part in. But if they aren't going the campaign route, the green glow is there to let us know, hey, these are man-made chemical creations, mutants that have evolved. They're not connected to the Upside Down. They're making that known visually. We then get a shot of what looks like the queen of these monsters. They're going full aliens. You love to see it. And Max says we need to stop those things before they hurt other people. Someone then asks, what if there are more creatures out there? Which it seems like there are an abundance of those, so you don't have to worry about that. You're gonna have to handle them, whether it's a campaign or the real world. We then get a shot of someone getting attacked by one of those Vine demo monsters. We see what looks like a coach at perhaps Hawkins Middle School getting chased down by a monster as well. And at this point, it's like so many characters are under attack in Hawkins. It's become headline news. Like, this is a big deal, almost of a bigger scale than season 1. I mean, this is a thing that everyone just knows about. People are getting attacked left and right. You would imagine it'd be something that would be brought up in season 3, but again, that's why I'm thinking it's all a campaign. If you can't tell by now, I will not back down from my stance that this show is a campaign until I'm proven wrong. Nikki is then seen pulling out some weapon that seems like it comes from the imagination of kids. This is a further testament to my campaign theory. It's like some sort of sword. And the kids all pull up at her house to see this garage full of weapons, a full-on arsenal with weapons, again, that seem like they're from D&D. You have like this blaster, this gun. They all look like kids' play items, which is why I don't think they're real. They probably come from the imagination of our party. It is cool, though. There's a Freddy Krueger mention. If you look at the wall, there's almost like this cardboard cutout or a big fat head sticker. Shout out Robert Englund, who not only plays him, but also stars in Stranger Things as he played Victor Creel in season 4. Or Victor Creel, as I like to call him. Lucas is repping this high-tech slingshot, and all the kids have weapons, so they're straight up ready for battle. And again, these kids at this point in the canon have never been this locked and loaded for a battle in their life. I mean, in season 3, the best they could come up with were fireworks, which is why I'm sitting here going, if they were supposed to have used weapons in the past canonically, there's just no way this is real. I think we're getting more and more evidence as to how this has to be a campaign, or I'm just convincing myself of it because I can't believe the fact that this is actually supposed to be real if it's not a campaign. We get a fun little Dustin and Lucas moment as they both say, let's do it at the same time, and this just reminded me of like the season 2 Dustin and Lucas era, a very underrated duo. And the kids are then seen heading into the sewers to investigate whatever the hell's going on down there. There's then a shot of Mike and Eleven in the backseat of a car with Nikki up front and someone who we don't really know driving because it isn't Nancy. She wouldn't be wearing glasses, and we've already seen her in past images and in a shot later on in this trailer, so it makes me think about that shot of Nancy driving everyone in a different context now. The kids are all celebrating. There's no Nikki in the car. It seems like maybe they had a successful campaign, and that is Nancy picking up all the kids and taking them back home or doing whatever, driving out to get ice cream, who the hell knows. But the fact that Nikki's not in the car with them kind of has me thinking that, hey, it's all a campaign. There's this demo variant fully charging at the car. This thing is a mutant. Lumax are seen in the pumpkin patch running from creatures that we now know are called the Gourd Horde based on toys that released for Tales from 85. Basically, the mutated pumpkin patches all throughout Hawkins. Now, this next part, though, is where the campaign theory gets a little bit tricky. We see Dustin and Steve in a truck as Steve says, I thought this upside down stuff was over, while a vine monster breaks out of the back of the truck to attack them. The inclusion of Steve leads us to believe this is all real because we've never seen him hang out with the kids and play D&D, but at the same time, the party could have just included Steve in their campaign as some characters are just around in D&D. Not everyone has to be presently playing. They could just have Steve be a part of it. I don't know if this vine monster is necessarily real or not. A thought I had too is that in real life, maybe Steve told Dustin, hey man, you should probably move on from the events of season 2 and like this upside down adventure you're seeking, and that's why he's maybe included in the party's version of their D&D campaign for Dustin to kind of address that. It could be like a callback to a conversation the two of them had earlier. But the next shot from a different moment kind of cements my theory that it all has to be a campaign, as we see Will Byers, from Season 2 era, mind you, fully charging this queen of the demos with a hammer or mallet, basically like Harley Quinn's weapon of choice. And I'm just sitting there going, this thing would obliterate Will if this was real, and could you really imagine little Will Byers charging at this monster? I don't think so. But in a campaign, yeah, I could totally see it because it's not real. You're rolling a d20 to figure out how much damage you can inflict. You know what I'm saying? Mike then says those creatures can't get out, or it's game over. Game over, as in campaign over? We see him pointing at what looks like the school where we've actually seen them in the teaser trailer hanging out in the AV club, potentially partaking in a campaign, so it would make sense that the way this trailer is edited with some of the audio bits to think, hey, game over, man, but in reality, he's being literal, and their game would end if they don't defeat these monsters. We get a quick shot of Max in what looks like the sewer tunnel system, hiding, just like in Season 5 when the demo dogs are in the hospital tracking her down. Lucas launches a flashlight, hitting a button. A shot we've seen from the teaser then happens, where this explosion launches the gang. We get a real quick Hopper and Eleven moment, one of the best duos in the entire show. My heart is always full to get more of them, and that's the kind of thing I want to see in Tales from 85. Real life Hopper and Eleven moments that are canon, that are legit, that show their relationship and their bonding post Season 2. And then 11 says, catch it. Stop it, just us, no going back. So this line kind of indicates that no one else can know, only the OG party can be involved, which again, further proof in my opinion that this is all a campaign, because if this threat were real, the first thing the kids would do is get help from others. They would want to get Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy involved. They would want like Joyce and Hopper. Everyone would need to be involved to stop this threat, especially if it's as serious as something from Season 1 and 2. They wouldn't want to just figure it all out on their own. With 11 saying this line, maybe she's not supposed to be out hanging out late, partaking in this campaign, and they're running out of time to finish the campaign before the winter storm clears up, and so those are the real stakes. They want to take down the monsters, catch them, just them, because it's just the party playing D&D, and they don't have time. They're going to run out of it if they don't act fast. Like maybe she's breaking Hopper's rules is what I'm getting at here. There is a shot of the whole gang looking out at this demo-looking monster with its mouth wide open, and Nikki is there as well. I'm kind of sensing a correlation of the monsters being around to Nikki being around, almost as if both aren't real. But these final moments in the trailer where I'm like, okay, if this is really all canon and it's not a campaign, I'm not viewing it as having any real impact on the show. I'm kind of just viewing it as a fun little extension of Stranger Things, not taking it too seriously. Because at the very end, we see this serpent vine-like monster down in the sewers. It's attacking all of our kids, and they're fighting it off with weapons. Dustin has a freaking flamethrower. Max has some sort of blaster gun. Mike has what looks like a sword. These are all weapons that our characters might wield in Dungeons & Dragons. Nikki's also jumping around, fighting them off as well. It kind of felt like a scene from the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where all our Guardians are fighting together one last time. And I can't emphasize this enough. To me, in my opinion, I haven't seen this season yet, it feels like this all comes from a campaign, and the trailer's kind of a misdirect, and we won't find out it's a campaign until we sit down and watch the damn thing. Especially if you consider the fact that the Duffer brothers are involved as producers. They wouldn't want to ruin their continuity. They're aware of this being kind of a stretch, if it's all real, to occur between Season 2 and 3, so I'd imagine it's all a campaign in the end. I believe there's a quote of the Duffers saying they wanted this to be like a Saturday morning cartoon for Stranger Things. Well, if you go the campaign route, you could do multiple seasons of this show set between the seasons of the show we love right now, and boom, you could do 3 or 4 seasons just like that, set between every season of the show, and each one is just a different campaign. But you also get those real-world moments that are fully canon, of small character moments. For example, there's like a shot in the water tower from the teaser of Lumax holding hands. Like, you get things like that, but you don't need these monsters to be real in between every season. But my final point and my argument about this all being a campaign is that as the trailer ends, the title of the show itself pops up, and as we know, it's Tales from 85. This, of course, could be fairy tales, fables, stories from our childhood, but because they chose tales, it has me thinking these are all tales. They're not actually real. How great would it be to just see a story of our kids playing D&D, passing the time during a winter storm, and all the craziness with these monsters is just a part of their Dungeons & Dragons campaign. It's not real, but we still get real moments with characters, if that makes sense. So overall, it was a fun trailer. There was an 80s banger played. The song I Ran obviously rules, and it felt 80s. It felt like the early seasons of Stranger Things. There was a sense of nostalgia in the air, so it's going to be fun to step back into the world of Hawkins, no doubt, and this time in animation form instead of live action, but I am a little hesitant if a lot of what we see is supposed to be canon and we as the audience are supposed to buy into the fact that everything that happens with these monsters actually occurred in the timeline between season 2 and 3. That's a bit of a stretch. If they ask us to believe that, I'm probably going to disregard it and just view this as a fun little what if type show. Oh, that's a fun little side story that's not really connected to Stranger Things. It's more inspired by it. But if they go the campaign route, it's low-key brilliant in my opinion, as it opens the door to more seasons. It allows for moments where the character relationships can be strengthened in between seasons, and we also still get to see some of that fun mystery and adventure of a classic Stranger Things season, but with no real stakes because it is just the kids playing D&D at the end of the day. So I think there's a brilliant balance they could find with Tales from 85, and I certainly hope they do. I'm rooting for this show. I adore the world of Stranger Things. I'm rooting for any project they put out in the future. I think that seasons 1 through 5 are fantastic, so I hold it to a high standard. I don't want Tales from 85 to tarnish that or damage the legacy, and any future spinoff I feel similarly about. I hope the creators and everyone involved do. I think they do. They clearly seem to have a passion for it. So I'm rooting for Tales from 85. I'm going to watch it. I'll have tons of content about it. I am just cautiously optimistic and a little skeptical, kind of nerved up, honestly, post that trailer. Having sat with it, having viewed it a few more times, and now doing this breakdown, I feel a little better because I do think there are signs pointing to the fact that it's going to be a campaign. But again, at the end of the day, only time will tell. But what do you guys make of the Tales from 85 trailer? Let me know in the comments down below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Be on the lookout for my reactions to all these episodes coming out in April, as well as probably a tier list of characters and some other fun videos associated with Tales from 85. But thank you guys so much for your continued support here on the channel. It truly does mean the world. Lots of content to come you won't want to miss out on. Stay tuned for all that and more. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side of the Upside Down.